This trip was to take us from our home on the mid-north coast of New South Wales down through Sydney and stopping at Pheasant's Nest for the night, and then continuing down to Wollongong for a few days in Ulladulla, then on down to Bermagui for another few days before we headed south down to Mallacoota. From here we headed north to Wambala and then up to Kuma before going across for a few days free camping at Blaring Dam near Tumut. From here north to Hardin and on to Canandra, then up to Gulgong before stopping a few days at my daughter's farm and then heading back home via Newcastle, all up about 2,750 kilometres. We drove south through Sydney late on a Sunday evening and arrived at Pheasant's Nest about 2 a.m, stopping till late morning behind the service station. We slept well despite the constant truck movements. We drove down through Wollongong and on to Kiama, and we parked close to the harbour. From there we walked up the hill and past the lighthouse, and then down the steps to the blowhole. It was working pretty well. Not really surprising given that there was a good sea running. From here we drove down to Ulladulla and booked into the caravan park. Once we had settled in, we took a walk down around the harbour. I reckon this could still be pretty rolly given the right winds. On the north side of the harbour we walked along a track called the Time Walk. This walk shows the geological times of the rocks in the local area. Past that, there is another path called One Track for All. This shows the history of Aboriginal lifestyle before and after white settlement on wood carvings. Absolutely brilliant. There's also a nice view back into the harbour. The next day, we drove the 20 kilometres down to Monaro National Park to walk the Gulgong Point Walk. We thought this boardwalk was because the air can get a bit wet. They weren't wrong. Soon the track disappeared into the lake and we were forced to walk along the bottom of the cliff face. Zoom right onto the beach, you can see the size of the lake. This was a very nice beach with only our footprints to be seen. We walked down to the end of the beach but could not find the path round to the point. And of course on the way back we saw the sign. We headed south down to Bermagui, and about 10 kilometers north we came over this little bridge, and then stopping in the rest area saw the history of this little island. On this spot used to be a guest house in the 1930s. Still a very nice natural area. Nearby on the coast is a rock formation called Camel Rock. From there we sailed into our spot on Regatta Point on the lake's edge. It was really a nice place just to sit and watch the wildlife. But also quite nice a place to go for a paddle. We walked around Bermagui and did some shopping. Nice little town, a very nice beach. It was nice to see the War Memorial being very well looked after. From Bermagui, we head south towards Mallacoota, stopping off at Eden on the way. Of course, Eden is an old whaling centre, and there's the old Killer Whale Museum. And the harbour area is actually very busy. Down the ramp, a few big rays come in to get fed. Eden is, of course, an old whaling station. I was also visited by Matthew Flinders a few years after white settlement. And there is a lot of wood products exported from this area. We arrived in Mallacoota just after lunchtime. Got settled into the nice little caravan park there. And there's a great 10k walk. Takes you right around, down to the beach, back up through town. Now this walk actually took us through some very nice coastal forest. And then on through some heathland before we reached the beach. From there we had 1.5 kilometers to walk along the beach. From there we followed the track back up into town. And on the other side of town, we picked up the Shady Gully trek to take us back to the caravan park. Leaving Mallacoota, we drove north into the mountains of Bombala. And we stopped at a lovely little town run caravan park. Bombala was the end of the line in 1921 when the railway arrived. It was a big thing for the town. Today, it stands as a reminder of a past era. We drove east for about 30 kilometers to walk into my Amber Gorge. Now there are 3 lookouts in this walk. The picnic area is very nicely presented and it's suitable for wheelchairs, as is the track to the first lookout. Unfortunately, not much water in the creek. We followed the path down to the next lookout. Now this is called Pulpit Rock Lookout. Shortly after that, we arrived at the Gorge Lookout. This would be great to see when there's lots of water flowing. I still like the view down the valley. Back at Bambala, there's also an old machinery display, and I had to take a shot of the old Fergie tractor. We drove north again, this time to Kuma. Kuma is a nice town nestled in the valley that's really used as a base for winter skiing. We drove out to Threadbow to walk to the Kosciuszko lookout at the top of the chairlift. The path to the lookout is actually fully made, and much of it is actually steel grid. I'm glad you can't see all these rocks when you're skiing here in winter. The path continues to climb up to about 6,500 feet. And from the Kosciuszko lookout you can see the path going to the top of Kosciuszko. We ran out of time, so we headed back to the lift. On the way back you still got nice views. The following day we drove to the next valley, up to Charlotte's Pass. On halfway back to Perisher, we found a cafe open at the base of the T-bar. After lunch, we drove through Perisher, and a few kilometers past, we stopped to walk into Rainbow Lake. This lake is actually a dam built in the early 1900s to provide water for the Kosciuszko Hotel. This burnt down in the late 1950s. Now it's just a lovely spot to visit. On the way back through Jindabyne, we stopped at the surge tank that's used by the Snowy Mountain Hydro. This scheme was built in the mid-1900s and also diverted water across for irrigation into these huge reservoirs. The next day we drove the 45 kilometers to the east to take a walk into Turos Falls. The track started flat and then went between some large boulders. We had to climb down quite a steep section to this little bridge and then back up the other side. And after several long undulations, we arrived at the lookout. We really didn't know what to expect, but we were really surprised by this beautiful view. Our next drive was over the snowy mountains to Yachting Point on Blaring Dam, where we free camped for a few days. Now the water was well down, but the view from the caravan was still very pleasant. This dam wall is about 11 kilometers north of our camp. Now Blaring Dam is famous for being used to set the world water speed record by Ken Warby in 1978 of 511 kilometers an hour. It still stands today. However, in the kayaks, we had no plans to break this speed. After about an hour of paddling, we found this nice little grassy area to stop and have some lunch. Again we headed north to Hardin, and then we went on to Young to look at the Chinese tribute gardens in memory of the Chinese gold miners who were badly treated there in the 1800 gold rush. We again headed north, this time up to Canandra. And here the Heritage Main Street takes you back several decades. And this is a town working hard to reinvent itself. And they're doing quite a good job actually. Our next overnight stop was Gulgong. This of course is a town on the old $10 note. It's a lovely little town and we visit there quite regularly. So we carried on up to the daughters and then we headed home for Easter via Newcastle. Not a great trip.